What's good, family? Thank you for supporting my channel, Nanya News 101. This segment right here is about the Dirty Moor, Chief Nanya L, and the At-sik-hata Nation. So I hope you guys enjoy this. This is actually about the SF-181 form, Chief Nanya's beef with the NUWAUIPIANs, Chief Nanya's beef with the MOORS. This is exposing actually Chief Nanya as the fraud because he wants to put claims on other nations and other organizations, affidavits of facts and affidavits of fraud, stuff like that. That's what he's doing to these organizations, and he's causing, he's causing confusion among new members of these organizations, and that's how he's getting his people, because he's getting people who don't really know too much, far as like even me, myself. I was listening to what he was saying, far as like, explaining the SF-181, indigenous people, you need this for commerce, your UCC1. He was spitting good game because this is stuff that I was researching before about the straw man and stuff like that. But what this guy does, and he's a Jesuit, and he won't. I told him, I said, man, you're a Jesuit. I don't need the SF1. I don't need, the Pope's permission to do anything. I don't need that. Basically, I'm indigenous. I'm a NUWAUIPIAN. I'm a Moor. That's what it is. You get what I'm saying? So, he basically said, NUWAUIPIANs are fraud. In this video, you're going to see a lot, So I hope y'all enjoy it. Chief Nanya, you take pictures with with a cutout picture of the Pope, which is very funny, because when I first saw it, I was thinking, I was like, that looked like is that the Pope? Is that really him, or is that a poster? I had that thought in my mind, but, I'm just thinking, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, because he was so sharp. You know what I'm saying, and explaining what he was explaining, because there's truth among what he was explaining. But, it didn't really dawn on me, until I just released. Man, I was like, I looked on actually Deuce Y York's Facebook page, and I noticed he was like, man, this man even got a fake cutout picture with the Pope. So I was like, wow. So I just researched it, found all the information. It's a fake cutout, like Deuce Y said. He didn't even do the research, or he just looked at it and knew it was fake. You know what I'm saying? Like I kind of did, but didn't. I just was so desperate into getting out of the corporation. I was trying to actually, to get my indigenous standing process, through Chief Nanya, because he talked a good game. You know what I'm saying? He was talking about the IDs. He was not really knocking the master teacher, but he was talking about the IDs are fraudulent, this and that. I'm not versed in international law or, anything like that. So he kind of caught me off guard. So I ran this by the NUWAUIPIANs, because that's how I do. I'm not going to do nothing in secret. I had no plans on being secretive about what I was doing, because I told them I want that stuff. Well, I want to try that out and see what. And he was like, man, that's not I don't think you need that. So when I explained it to him and I brought the attention to what Chief Nanya was talking about with this SF1. I mean, it kind of like, it sparked a curiosity in the brother. So the brother went to research it and found out it was trash. It's nothing but a document collecting indigenous people, putting them in a database, getting permission from the Pope and the Queen, pushing Christian black codes, because the brother's a Jesuit. So, Chief Nanya, if you hear this, because I know you will, because I'm going to post it on your page, I called you a Jesuit. I claim, that's my claim. I claim that you are a Jesuit pushing Christian black codes. And if you can deny that, go ahead, or you can rebuttal that, please do. Because this is what I assume. This is, you throw up devil horns, that like the Jesuit priest and the past Catholic priest. This is what you do. You are a Catholic Jesuit. So this is what my claim. Until you can rebuttal this, Nanya, Shabu, you rebuttal it. But for right now, that's what it is. You're a Jesuit. If you can prove that you're not, and you can prove that you're really doing good for the people, I'll take this video down. But right now, I'm riding on you. So, yeah, enjoy this, family. I hope y'all enjoy this video. I'm getting better with my content. I appreciate the new subscribers. I've been getting a little wave. I've been posting the Taj Tariq Bey videos, which I like. But I still got a small issue with Taj. I'm trying to get a hold of Taj so I can actually have a conversation with the brother. But I do have a little issue with Taj in the video that I saw about him talking about you know, the book that Dr. Malachi York wrote about Noble Drew Ali, and how he was the actual cause of Noble Drew Ali actually getting, Dr. Malachi York, you know, getting this time, because he said, look, man, the Moors are not coming. He basically made the call, he said, and his dad, that the Moors are not coming to aid Dr. Malachi York in his case. So that's one of my issues with Taj. But everything else that Taj spit, all his information is on point. You know what I mean? I just didn't overstand what he was actually saying about that particular issue. So Taj, if you can hear this, because he's a hard brother to get up with, but I know how I can get it to you. You know what I'm saying? But if you hear this, Taj, if you can get on the channel and explain that, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I heard that, and this is something that I have an issue with myself, which you might think, oh, who are you? You know what I'm saying? Well, anyway, I got a platform that's growing, you know, and people are watching. You know what I'm saying? So I respect the brother Taj. Islam, peace, Rahul Bat, you know what I mean? Wadu to all the NUWAUIPIANS. Come on, man, let's get it.
I'm Chief Nanya of the At-sik-hata Nation of Yamasee MOORS, and this is 5-day comment number 92. This comment that we're doing today is very important as it pertains to the NUWAUIPIANS, the NUWAUIPIANS, etc. And I give gratitude and appreciation to the elder. Actually, I'll put, they have it, Sechem Sen Amun. So I give a honor and appreciation to you and your mate, Atem Ray Mecht, for giving us this information of the fraud that's being done by the NUWAUIPIAN nation. Yes, and I'm saying fraud. All they have to do is present documents to prove otherwise, which we know they can't do because they deal in religion now. They don't deal in facts. Now, I was informed by this elder, and we have it here on the screen. This is an official letter from the UN Embassy. Rahubat Yasar, we hope this letter reaches you in great health and spirit. The Embassy of the United NUWAUIPIAN Nation, your government of retained sovereigns. Now that is incorrect syntax to use, because the word sovereign falls under the DHS manual for a domestic terrorist. So retained sovereign doesn't even make any sense. Now when you retain, as if you're retaining an attorney, that's what you would use in that language. I retain an attorney. So retained sovereigns of the Munwapu, Muskogee, Yamasee Creek, and Seminole tribes of Aboriginal Indigenous peoples in the state of NUWAUIPIA under President and Chief Black Thunderbird Eagle H.E. Dr. Malachi K. York.
Don't be deceived by this here. This SF, it says Standard Form 181. This is what they're perpetrating and say, okay, you have to become, they're saying you have to become, you have to fill this form out. I'm looking for something else I had. Okay, it's right here. You have to, they say you have to fill this out in order for you to change what? What the Caucasian has labeled you, the system has labeled you. You have to fill out this form to correct it to them. Right. So I know it's a lot of talking about this form. I don't, what's puzzling, this is what's puzzling to me. And, you know, NUWAUIPIANS, we have to learn how to defend ourselves and to be able to defend false claims, right? You have to be able to look at something, address it, dig into it, find out its origin, find out the authenticity, find out the author, and see exactly what people are trying to lead you into. Because it's a really simple process. If you read it starting from the beginning, right, this ethnicity and race identification, it says, please read the Privacy Act statement and instructions before completing the form. Now, this Privacy Act here, right, this Privacy Act is under 42 USC section 2000 E16. This is what these people are not telling you. And y'all need to make reference to this video so they'll understand that you're not fooling us any longer, because too much information is available. We're not dummies. You know, we're not just, you know, you're not going to leech off of NUWAUIPIANS worldwide. You're not going to leech off the weak Africans in America, the indigenous who've been beat down and been trampled over by the European. And you know, not only, you know, and you know that they're looking for freedom, but you're trying to take advantage of them, trying to take advantage of their weakness, because they're searching for facts. They're searching for a way out. And so with these, we call them conscious community pimps or indigenous wannabe chiefs and people who want to play this authoritative role, they'll come up with anything like this. All right, yeah, I don't have a YouTube page, so anybody can post it. You have the right to post this on YouTube so they can see as well. But we're going to address this because this is hilarious. I mean, I would taking serious and taking the argument serious until I just read 2 pages of it and knew that this has nothing to do with NUWAUIPIANS or Africans in America. And let me tell you why. Because the ethnicity and race identification, the ethnicity and race information is requested, right, under the authority. So right now, any person, that's the first line, that's very clear. Anytime, right, you fill this out, you're acknowledging that the authority in which is requesting this information, you're submitting to that authority. You're submitting to the authority that's implemented or placed under this 42 USC section 2000E-16, and you're in compliance. Now, that means that you're obeying, you're following the orders of who? In compliance with the Office of Management and Budgets 1997 revision to the standards to the classification of federal data. This has nothing at all to do with freedom. I don't know. What puzzles me is that people grab for straws. They grab for these things and they don't even read it. And it's like, oh, Duswa is not allowing people to fill out. First of all, this is not something that I'm requesting. This is your master requesting it to identify yourself, who you acknowledge as whoever, you know, they're pushing this ethnicity and race identification is for the Office of Management and Budgets 1997 revision to the standards for classification. So all they're doing is classifying you, right? Right? Classification of federal data. So they're just putting you, your name, your information inside a database of race and ethnicity. That's it.
You can see here in the corner that it is sealed. There needs to be a signature. There's no signature. So anyone who knows anything about contract knows when there's no signature, there is no contract. So this is just a blank piece of paper. So this shows that there's nothing there. And I know the NUWAUIPIANS are watching this as well. So you can't fool the world. The world is going to look at what you're doing and they're going to see what you're doing is incorrect. So next up is, this is just the same letter again to his mate. Now here's the letter, that the envelopes that were sent back with the double cross. I ain't calling it a double unk, it's a double cross. And they made sure that the stamps were canceled, so this way it can't be used again, which is highly funny. Sometimes they don't cancel stamps, sometimes they do. Now here's the tribal ID. Now the elder came to me. Again, I'm going to tell the NUWAUIPIANS this. Your nation is underneath At-sik-hata nation of Yamasee MOORS. You can't disprove it because you have no facts. You can fight it all you want. It's inevitable. It's only a matter of time. We have elders. This is the third elder that has come to At-sik-hata nation asking us to assist them and is complaining about what you all are doing. So we have elders that are amongst you that are seeing what's happening and reporting that information to myself. So we know, At-sik-hata nation of Yamasee MOORS knows. So the complaint the elder had was that when he got the ID card, it had a signature. This says signature. He has stated he has not signed this. So Sekem Sen Amun told me, gave me consent, him and his mate, gave me consent for us to show these tribal IDs, and they did not sign them. So, since they didn't get a copy of their signature to superimpose on the ID, since they didn't leave it blank or a way for them to sign it and then put it on the card, this is a forged document. So this is the type of stuff that the NUWAUIPIANS are doing. So he stated emphatically, the elder was dead set, like, I didn't sign this. I got this, but I didn't sign it. You can't sign on their behalf. So I'm just letting you know, du soir, and the rest of you all know that that's fraud. That voids out your IDs, that voids out your nation, it voids out your certificates, it voids everything out, because you have to get consent from the indigenous. That's in the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So unless you have a power of attorney for them, which you didn't tell them about, you can't sign any document in their appellation or in their indigenous tribal name without their consent. They must have free, prior, and informed consent. You got all those brainiacs over there and y'all still stupid. You can't do that.
These about 30,000 ledgers here for our nation, right? You see this? All of these are, right, as you can see, ledgers for people who have acknowledged us and have been took their oath as a citizen to be a part of our nation. All right, so don't think that NUWAUIPIANS are just a little small group that you might see in your city. No, by all means, this is worldwide. These are NUWAUIPIAN nationals. All of these signatures of affiant of people around the world, right, who have taken the oath to be a part of our nation. And these are the people that will have the opportunity to come to Africa under our passports, accepted by West Africa, to travel there and be returned home under a repatriation program that we just signed off with over 15 nations. And this is in effect now. Look at this. This is all NUWAUIPIAN nationals, signatures, Notary Republic, everybody here. So these are all the documents. People's like, what happened to all the documents over the years? But these are it right here. No fret. These are all of here, you see? All right. So you see our stamp, United NUWAUIPIANS. You see the stamp there? Let me slide this over. Sorry. Right here. You see our stamp, right? Okay. Seals. Everything is documented. We don't use foreign agents' stamps or seals. We have our own notary in-house, right? Notary sealed by our Notary Republic with our stamp there. They don't do this is state practice. This is what nations do. Nation building is totally in effect. So I just want y'all to see that. That's just a small portion, but it's quite a bit. So no NUWAUIPIANS who did fill out their ledgers. You want to still get your ledgers in, you can. You want to say, well, you want to acknowledge yourself as a citizen of NUWAUIPIA and have the benefits and services of what our nation is under our president, Dr. Malachi York. That ledger as well acknowledges. Let me read it. I, such and such, so you can understand what it's saying, as a member of the United NUWAUIPIAN Nation of the state of NUWAUIPIA, do hereby acknowledge and agree with the contents of the Constitution of the United NUWAUIPIAN Nation since its implementation on June 26, 1992. I have accepted since that time and still accept today His Excellency Dr. Malachi York as my Maku Chief, our President and Head of State. I hereby confirm that the information below regarding myself is true, and you fill out the name, put your information in it. That's one of the first steps. The second step, of course, is to obtain your United NUWAUIPIAN tribal identification. It's an identifier, okay? So contrary to what people think, it's not a contract. There's no contractual obligations. It helps you identify yourself to the world, and that's the purpose of it being. That was the purpose of it being the way it was done, is to identify our people. Why? Because once the exodus takes place, and it's coming, and the repatriation takes place, you'll see that right here into West Africa, you'll be able to land and we'll be able to live in an environment where our culture is accepted and without prejudice, no division. There's no attempts to demolish or eradicate us as a people, which has been done for the last 400 years, even recently in 2002 with the arrest of our president, head of state, and consul general and diplomatic agent, Dr. Malachi York. But this is something that this is something that I wanted to show you. Now this has to do with us NUWAUIPIANS, and because of your patience, you've been right here. This is another document. This is a very important document. Now this document here, as you can see, our seal here, right? This is constitutional articles. These are an international agreement, right, that we have with under Embassy of the United NUWAUIPIAN Nation, right, and the International African Forum, DAF, right, International Diaspora Forum, U.S. This is an agreement that was signed by several delegates and officials in West Africa. As you can see, my name is here, right, Ambassador Dr. Duswa York, right, chair of the International Diaspora Forum, right, because I sit as the chair of the International Diaspora Forum here in the West, in this country, in the U.S. The Diaspora Forum is Africans worldwide who are looking and have interest in going back to Africa. And because our nation has led our people to a specific point of liberation and has connected them back to West Africa through the works of Dr. Malachi York, through the works of Panabab Yanun, and reinstilling our blood link in our genetic line, we're the ones that Africa has looked at to say these are the people that are going to lead our people, lead Africans in the diaspora back home. And this agreement is the one that's responsible for all of those works in one document right here. And I'm going to read it for you so you'll understand why this document is important, what connects us to, and how it connects us to international, this international agreement and international, as an international entity, right? And is acknowledged as recognition with our nation. These signatures is an acknowledgement of us as a nation. It's an acknowledgement of us in our works and what we plan on doing, and it gives us the ability to work strictly with ECOWAS. And ECOWAS of 15 nations. This is a legal binding document that, you know, nations, only real nations can do. A regular Negro from, you know, wherever you're from, you can be, you know, you can't just come up with and address international treaties or international agreements or address heads of states or other ambassadors without having proper recognition. And I know this is something that everyone was asking for so long. Are you recognized by the UN? Is he recognized? Is the United NUWAUIPIAN? These questions are coming up and I'm answering them. It's quite clear. All right. So this document here is specifically signed by us and the 15 ECOWAS governments, right? And it says, we, the undersigned, intent for the purposes of forming the International African Forum is to promote, right? Promote a woven, multifaceted partnership with ECOWAS governments. Specifically, the city of Banjul, right? The Republic of Gambia, the city of Pambau, the Republic of Senegal, and its public and private economic actors, above all, community and social organizations having these purposes and objectives are of general nature and activities, but not limited to the following. Now, this is where the NUWAUIPIAN Nation comes in, so you can see why everything has to tie in. It's a process. It's not something that's the A, B, C, you jump over and do this. This is not how it's done. It's a specific process in which nations are acknowledged as independent and moves in a specific manner. The components have to be there. You have to have a president. You have to have a administrative body. You have to have a secretary of state. You have to have a minister of justice. You have to have your congressional or your law, your legal, which we have our elders and our legal you call legal departments that are responsible for implementing our laws amongst our nation. So these are all the components of a nation. You have to have these in place in order for other nations to say they're on the right track, they're doing what they're supposed to do, and to be acknowledged as independent, which we are doing and is being done right now.
Even the Pope said indigenous peoples have the final say when it comes to their land. So they have to have consent from us, and they don't have it. You all are Negroes masquerading as indigenous, straight up. And there's going to be more elders and more NUWAUIPIANS coming to At-sik-hata Nation, because we are at the UN. So I just wanted this put out there. This is international public notice of the fraud being done by the NUWAUIPIAN, the MOORS nation. The next thing, to show that they don't listen, this is their chief. I, Chief Thunderbird, told my wife to tell the UN embassy to get in contact with Chief Nanya, and what did they do? They did not contact me. So you don't listen to him. So stop fronting. The world is going to throw this everywhere you go. This link that's in the address bar up here, this picture, this website here from our authorized representative on Renatchquab, Misnomer, New York City, in the Bronx. Everybody's going to start throwing this question back at you. What did you guys do? Have you got in touch with Chief Nanya, and you haven't? So therefore, you're not interested in that or in his freedom if he's there. Next, this is a picture of Duswa. Did you know the United NUWAUIPIAN Nation is the only black nation that has a nationality that sits at the UN General Assembly? So NUWAUIPIAN is the only real nationality. First of all, that's fraud. That's perjury, Duswa. Second of all, you ain't even got your fez or your headdress on. Why you aren't wearing your headdress? That's the next thing. Anyone who's indigenous at the UN, they wear their regalia, regardless, whether it's feathers, whether it's turbans, what have you. That's the second thing. Black, the black nation, black has no standing at law. You all still are agents, and I'm calling you an agent. I've said that before, so until you disprove that, it stands as a fact. The next thing, you don't sit at the UN General Assembly, so stop lying, because UN General Assembly are the countries that are recognized, and you haven't shown anything here where you are recognized. Now, I turned around and showed you the lien I have on the White House that's still up, that was faxed to the White House. And we have another witness, Tahuti Setep and Rael. There's no such thing as a black nation at the UN, because black has no standing at law. So this again is fraud. The double cross is fraud. I'm calling it fraud. I'm saying it's fraud. I'm giving the decision and order this is fraud as plenipotentiary of Sulhafat Jazur. Next, let's see here. Barack Obama said what? Tom, I don't look at myself as the first black president because the word black has no standing at law. So all that clemency that Victoria and Mario were doing, that again, more fraud. Victoria is an esquire. Her first obligation is to uphold the Inns of Court, which is in London, which falls underneath Elizabeth, going up to the Rothschilds, the Vatican, the rank of international settlements. That was all fraud. All of it was fraud. Fraud voids a contract ab initio, and there's no statute of limitation on fraud. So Victoria already knows this. Continuing further, let's see here. There we go. Definitions for new race and ethnicity. So, you NUWAUIPIANS, when you call yourselves black, you're saying you're a person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. There are none, and Africans don't call themselves black. So you're going to have to explain how you all are calling yourself a black racial group of Africa. Now, according to the U.S. Department of Education, down here, who endorses this is the IPEDS, Integrated Post-Secondary Education Data System. What happens here is the categories, which they developed in 1997, do not denote scientific definitions of anthropological origins. The designations are used to categorize U.S. citizens, corporations, resident aliens, corporations, and other eligible non-citizens, corporations. So when we go to the definition of white, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. What does this mean? Ghana, which you all are focused on, you would have to call yourself white when you're in the quote-unquote U.S. And you're not doing that. Y'all are calling yourselves black, and it's not even a people. Hawaiians are people. White are people. Asian are people. American Indian are people. So for you to call yourself black and it's not a people, you all, again, you all are not dealing with facts. You're not going to fool the world. And the rest of the NUWAUIPIANS that are following that, you are worshipers. So that's where you actually do need to be. Those that are living amongst the NUWAUIPIANS, you come to At-sik-hata Nation of Yamasee Moors. You get on our Indigenous webinar, send an email to sasat at NicoleNicholas90@gmail.com. If you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to contact 587-501-7262. For those that want to contact me directly, 587-712-0639. Continuing on. Now let's go to language, which is what your master told you all to study language. And he said the problem is leaders don't want to take the time to learn the language. This here, this here is a Old English. This is the Anglo-Saxon dictionary. When we go to the word black, it's an adjective. It's bright, shining, glittering, flashing, pale, pallid, or wan. So the word black means to be pale. Blackian, to turn pale. Blackun or blackung, a turning pale, pallor. Black lior, with pale cheeks. So black is all having to deal with pale. So for you to go to the UN Duswa and the rest of you NUWAUIPIANS in your so-called embassy and say you are a black nation, the word means pale. So you haven't really been listening again to Chief Black Eagle. Continuing on. Okay, so now when we go here, this is our nation with our flag. These are some of the events we are invited to. And these are all the tickets from our authorized representative. So you all don't show anybody anything. This is the Youth Human Rights Conference, Remember Slavery event, the UNAOC Group of Friends meeting, UN Gas, and HLTD on SDG. All this at the UN. So where's your tickets, your events, your invitations? Here's another picture right here with our flag. Here's our authorized representative showing that he was there. Here we go, fourth balcony. Here we are listed as a CSO, non-governmental and NGO, At-sik-hata Nation of Yamasee Moors. Okay, and then when we go up here, I think we just passed it. There we go. And then here's our authorized representative outside at the UN. This is the one on Renatchqua, Misnomer, New York. There he is with his tartarbah on. And then there is Sa and Nanya Akiwuel. So that's what you do. You give full disclosure. You don't just sit there and say you're there and don't present. And that's the problem. Here's our report, November 21st to the 22nd, 2016. And this is the UN website. So this is not our website. This is the Office of the High Commission on Human Rights.org. This was on widening the democratic space, the role of youth in public decision making. So this is an official document. It's an international legal document.
We agreed, the NUWAUIPIAN Nation and these 15 ECOWAS nations, right, that we would facilitate, promote, and exchange the correct and proper information with the peoples of the diaspora Africans, you all, us, NUWAUIPIANS worldwide, and ECOWAS nations for the healthy, continuous continuance of the established relationship with ECOWAS, Senegambia, right? 2, to facilitate and promote, again for those, it's under our seal, again, this is our seal, international document. It says the next is where our freedom of Dr. Malachi York, right? Okay. It says 2, to facilitate and promote repatriation of, I can't really, okay, I'll get to your question, Kenneth Lawton. 2, to facilitate and promote the repatriation of the peoples, us, and the citizens, Dr. Malachi York, of ECOWAS. Remember, he's a citizen of Liberia. He's a citizen of all these 15 countries. So they're going to promote and facilitate the repatriation of the people and citizens in the diaspora, Africans in the U.S., to their friendly West African ECOWAS nations to enjoy freedom, liberty within the territory of our Senegambian partners in order to boost tourism, trade, investments, and other economically beneficial enterprises created as such. That's 3. That's 2. 3. 3 is to facilitate and render the proper services. Now we agree to render the proper services needed for our people's successful transition, exodus, and relocation to West Africa for rebuilding of the communities in the diaspora, African NUWAUIPIANS worldwide, in ECOWAS nations, specifically Senegambia. You got that? Number 4, this is our agreement, to create awareness and identify the needs of diaspora African U.S. NUWAUIPIANS worldwide and the peoples of the Republic of Gambia in order to facilitate and create the proper platform necessary to provide an avenue amicable in assisting those needs. 5, to promote the interests of the diaspora Africans United U.S. NUWAUIPIANS worldwide within the ECOWAS nations, right? Number 6, we agreed to engage in the creation of mutually beneficial economic ventures. 1, example, real estate development, building, housing construction and development, import, export, for the benefit of diaspora Africans, U.S. NUWAUIPIANS worldwide, and ECOWAS nations and peoples. 7, to promote humanitarian services to the needed in the areas of education, health, sanitation, services, agricultural, and general programs or projects geared towards mutual communal empowerment of Senegambia. Right. 8, to promote and create, this is what we all agree. Now, I'm telling, when we say to promote and create, this is 15 ECOWAS nations and the United NUWAUIPIAN Nation. That's what this is saying. To promote and create a platform to exchange of language and cultural diversities of the diaspora Africans, right? Diaspora Africans, us all over, we have different languages. Jamaica, Trinidad, UK, Barbados, you have different languages spoken outside the continent, but they're all Africans. And with that being said, we are the leaders of the Africans in the diaspora. We are the leaders of these people who need to come out of the beast, who need to be removed from the system, who need to be removed from oppression and discrimination and racism and all of the other atrocities that this beast have placed upon us. This is an agreement between Africa and us that they will facilitate any progress, any programs, platforms to exchange who we are with them, right? So it goes in number 9, to promote lawful activities. To promote lawful activities. So none of this is illegal. None of this is fraud. Everything we're doing is by way of Panatharu. By bringing us back home, we have the ability to work and partner with governments that's going to facilitate us there in order to build, in order to import, in order to export. So we're creating the jobs, creating the avenue. So any NUWAUIPIAN who wants to make the transition, all you have to do is come through the UNN Embassy African Diaspora Forum, and we can place whoever we need to build whatever we need to build in any of the 15 countries under our president, our true chief. All of this is done by way of him. because he was the one that put this thing in motion. We're just the ones to follow up and obedient and pay attention and not veer off and go into other areas like these offshoots have to create dissension. We stand focused, and this is the blessing that takes place out of that, creating commerce. Exactly. When you create commerce, you create what? Recognition. That's all it is. When you're able to do business with other nations, they acknowledge you as such. And if you do it the right way, such as we have as an embassy, right? Because the embassy is acknowledged in the international community as the instrument and the entity that speaks with other nations, representing other nations. We represent our nation, 30,000. So contrary to what I seen this video where this guy said NUWAUIPIANS, you know, they still contracted under the U.S. No, we're not. You're not contracted under them, because simply every last one NUWAUIPIAN who received a birth certificate without your consent, right? You cannot be binded to a contract that's not of your consent. You did not name yourself. You did not issue a birth certificate signed by you. It was something that your parents were forced to do in order to receive the benefits of the state or the environment in which you were born in. So those contracts of birth certificate, Social Security, right? Any one of those contracts are null and void because they fall under the doctrine of an adhesive contract. And an adhesive contract is a contract that you're forced to sign, because if you don't, it will be against you, your own survival. So you're forced to sign a document of to say, well, this is my birth certificate. You didn't agree to that. You didn't agree to a social security number. You didn't agree to those things, so those contracts are null and void. You can't put a person, a living flesh and blood NUWAUIPIAN, with a true identity, identifying yourself as a tribal member. You cannot force them under or into a contract with another state without their consent. So all of the contracts that all NUWAUIPIANs worldwide, if they sign with a state that's outside of their own state of NUWAUPIA, is null and void, and this is law. All right, so people think they know what they're talking about. I got over 15,000 worth of law books specifically to address all realms of law for our nation, whether it's the law of sea, the law of commerce, the law of treaties, international law in the Supreme Court, international law in the ICJ, international law in the International Court, Criminal Court, African international law, African human rights law. All of those realms of law are available. The law of international responsibility, right? Colonialism and the laws of decolonization. All of that is within the embassy, right over there. You see it all at that bottom shelf. You see that bottom shelf here? Right there. Half these guys can't even afford the type of these books, those books there. Let me just show you so you can kind of see. So you know that we're not playing no games with nobody. All right? They talk about the United Nations. They have no clue that the United Nations has this book right here, this set right here, right? This book right here, this set, United NUWAUIPIAN, the Charter of the United Nations. This is a $600 set. These guys can't afford that. This is what the money goes into when you truly about freedom fighting. You see this Vienna Convention of the Law of Treaties here? This set right here is $600. You see this Law of International Responsibility? This is a $700 book right here. You see that? This whole set, immigration law. Got that? Right? International law of treaties. The law of nations. This is spoken of in the Constitution. Most people don't even know what the law of nations is. This is the law of nations right here. This was the nation was founded. The U.S. was founded on the law of nations. If you don't have this, you don't know nothing about the contracts in which you're in, right? You go here, International Court of Justice. See that? This is a $600 set. And the digest of judgments and advisory opinions. So you have to read these things in order to understand what's going on. This is not something no fly by night that we're doing. All right. So I just want to. There's another set here. I'm gonna show you so people can be made aware of the seriousness of it. You see that? What does that say? This is the law and procedures of the International Court of Justice. You see that? We can get in the International Court of Justice. We know how that procedure takes place. This is the statute, statute of the Court of Justice. This is look how thick this book is. This is a $500 book here by itself, right? And this is what I do to invest in our nation, to invest in our freedom. You got that? So these guys talking trash, they don't really know. They can't show you this type of information. These guys is pulling up statutes. Look at this. Georgia Land Surveying Law right here. You see that? Georgia Land Surveying Law history of this is the whole entire history of Georgia. We dissected it word for word. You see that? Those are footnotes and bookmarkers to know that, to show you that I read every last book on this show. All right. These are markers here to show that I study these books. This immigration law here, this has to do with this has to do with our father's freedom, right? Let me show you this. See that? Immigration law. This law right here is responsible for how he gets repatriated, how we move and go over, how we his deportation, and the law that takes the courts, the immigration courts, and where he will have his hearing for deportation, for repatriation. You see what I'm saying? This book right here, look at this, $600. Look it up. You can look it up online. What is that? Supreme Court. This is the latest edition, the 10th edition. You see that? It's been read. You see this? All through it. So we're ready for the Supreme Court. And you know, I spend my days and nights in this freedom fight. I'm not no fly-by guy that you think you can just make a little video and I'm going to keep going and you're not going to be addressed. See this? Native American place names right here. None of those names of that chief, none of those names are in here from his tribe. His tribe is not in here. His so-called Yamasee is in here. Georgia is in here. You see this? Last Americans. Protection. What's this right here? Let's look at that. What is that? Protection of officials of foreign state according to international law. Am I doing my homework? Yes. Document authentication. See that book there? That's for document authenticity. See this? Diplomat's Handbook. You follow that? You see that? This is a book that protects diplomats, myself, the embassy, our president, and anyone else that is a part of the freedom fight that's working internationally. A Diplomat's Handbook of International Law and Practice. Another $300 book. You're not going to see these guys get these because they don't invest in education. They don't invest in knowledge or information the way we've been taught. You see that? The Settlement of Disputes in International Law. Institutions and Procedures. There's more to it here. I can go on and on. But I know you get the point by now. So my point is, right, I got some other stuff here too. Let's see. This is a law test you have to take. This is a book you have to study when you want your law degree. Did I pass the book? Yes. Did I pass the test? Yes. Have I taken an oath to the bar? No. Right here, the LSAT is called. You see that? LSAT. Premium 2016 through 2017. In Search of York. Right? This was the book that it mentions Dr. Malachi York and his descendancy, his family. All right? See that? Let's keep going. Winning an appeal brief. What is this? International law documents here. See that? I'm going to keep going because the law of contracts. See that? And the Uniform Commercial Code. You see that? Keep going. I'm going to keep going. Reading law. See that here? Reading law. All right, let's keep going. United States Protocol. When we're in contact with the U.S. and we're dealing directly from official and from government official, myself, to the State Department, this is a guide to official diplomatic etiquette. It's a procedure in how you deal with diplomats and how you speak with diplomats. You don't walk around with goofy-looking feathers claiming to be somebody important, filling out a federal employment identification form and claiming that it's going to cause you to become freedom. This is the fools that y'all listening to. Guide to international law. What? Guide to Latin. Why? Because Latin is the terms and the words they use in international law. I can go on and on, but I'm not going to go through all of it because there's a host of documents and things that I want to get to. But for the record, I just wanted to show y'all that so you can see that, you know, these guys that are playing games with our souls and our freedom, they're not really doing their homework. They just throwing stuff out there and they misleading people. But back to the document, back to what's at hand. This document here, right? Go back to this, right? This here is our international agreement, one of them, that's been signed on behalf of us, the United NUWAUIPIAN Nation, signed by several government officials. Here you can see they stamp of approval, right? What is that? City Mayor Banjul. You have the mayor of, and delegate diplomat of Senegal. Our economic ministers is right there, right? an economic minister's signature, a Raw Charles and Amir James, and then you have myself, Ambassador Dr. Duswa York, chair of the DAF and ambassador of UNN, and it says specifically on the back the filing of these constitutional articles of the International Diaspora African Forum under, right, the Embassy of the United NUWAUIPIAN Nation shall not be construed in any way to contravene any international laws or internal laws or statutes of ECOWAS nations or Senegambia. So, I mean, that's just one document, right? This is another one. This is in French. See that? I'm just pulling out a few things. I don't even put all my cards on the table like these fools. I just give them a few things to let them know you keep going. We're going to keep going. This is in French, and you can see it was addressed to the president of the United NUWAUIPIANS Worldwide. This was addressed to Dr. Malachi York and the International Diaspora African Forum, U.S. This is a seal from, West Africa ECOWAS governments. You can see it right there. Got me? So just a little something there. I'm not even going to go into a whole lot because I really just think these guys are, they brought a knife to a gunfight.
Give me a call. My number's 587-712-0639. You need to stop messing with them Negroes. All they're going to do is get y'all in trouble. Black has no standing at law. Black is a trap. Black is whack. Same with African American. African American is whack. African American is a trap. African American is code word for slave. You can accept it or reject it. You can never say I didn't tell you and I didn't keep the lines of communication open to you, Binu. You know how to get in touch with me. Timekeeper. So when we go back to the article here, now they call her African American and Danae. Now, what does it say here about African American? A person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. Black has no standing at law. What does it say here? Black is a status, not a nationality. So when Duswa said over here at the NUWAUIPIAN is the only black nation that has a nationality, it's a lie. It's fraud. Black is a status, not a nationality. How can you NUWAUIPIANS, MOORS, NUWAUIPIANS not see this? This is fraud. He don't know what the hell he's doing. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Yes, and he is still a U.S. government agent. Y'all are really Sumun, Bukmun, and Onion. And let's see, where did he have it here? I had a video I wanted to pull up here real quick. And is this it here? No, this isn't it. And it was interesting how, and this is her website, so Binu, I posted these after I told them to contact me 6 years ago, so you messing with the wrong knuckleheads. But again, the choice is yours. About the, let's see, where did Imra put that? Imra had a nice video up here talking about how, okay, we'll just have to go to, what's their names, online etymology. And he stated that in there he put Negro, and he said Facebook would not let him share it, so when he typed Negro, okay, black skin, I think he added an E. Slave. A person who is the chattel or property of another, from Old French esclave, 13th century from medieval Latin sclavus, slave. Source also of Italian chavo, French esclave, Spanish esclavo, originally Slav. So, used in the secondary sense because of the many Slavs sold into slavery by conquering peoples. So Negro, if you add the E, means slave. So the computer knows this, and so Imra was having a hard time trying to get that put up. So now he got it up. Okay, so, and this is myself at the 5,000-year-old Sun Temple up here. So with that, again, I cannot stress enough. I can't stress enough. The NUWAUIPIANS, you all are running fraud. Worldwide, whether it's Barbados, whether it's the UK, whether it's Africa. You keep calling yourself black in English, you're saying you're a slave, and everybody who does commerce and knows language is aware of it. So, you're not going to fool anybody. We're at the UN. We got reports and inputs at the UN.
But because maybe you didn't tune in, you didn't know that Article 3 of the Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States. This act was signed on December 26, 1933, and it came into force the very next year. And it's the governments that's represented in the 7th International Conference of American States. Article 1. This particular convention, right, governs the duties and the rights of a state. What is a state in international law? What is a nation in international law? What constitutes us as a nation in international law? What constitutes us as a state in international law? Article 1. A state is as a person of international law should possess the following qualifications. Look this up, please, people, please. A permanent population. They acknowledged us as having a permanent population by the articles that they wrote, by the keeping up of the numbers of Nuwauipu that came through our indigenous sovereign land, which was here and labeled before colonization. Our existence is written in our mounds. It's written in stone. That's before they even created the word recognition. You had to have recognized the Yamasee Native Americans if you went to war with them. You had to have recognized them if you went into a treaty with them. And don't claim we don't have treaties, because we have the original copies of the treaties right here on our desk. All right? So when you make, and I'm going to show them to you. Matter of fact, right here, which we received from, this is a ribbon. If you look here, and it's going to be on the screen because it's going to be edited, but for those that are on a radio station, they don't see it right now. What I'm holding in my hand is a copy of a treaty that was signed by the Wichita, by the Muskogee, and the original Cherokee in Wahani or Altamaha, which was the original land of falsely known as Georgia, or falsely named Georgia, from King George III, which was never the name of our land that we accepted or even consented to. Okay, so it was illegally named after James Oglethorpe received a charter from England under the pretense that he was going to make this state a state for prisoners, or the worthy poor, as they called them. All right? When you see this, it says Indian Treaty number 2, treaty with the 5 nations, ratified in July 19, 1701, September 14, 1726. So this is before the United States even declared their independence in 1776. All right? So we were here before that. So this one document proves that recognition is established in this document, because you can't sign a document or treaty with a nation that you don't recognize. So cut the crap with this video recognition. That's you trying to pull us up under the Caucasian again, by asking the master if we're not recognized. They don't recognize you, so we don't recognize you. You sound like a slave.
So we have the ability to be a third-party human rights defender. And what you all are doing, NUWAUIPIANS, is genocide. So before I go, I want to pull out one last thing. This is the Holy Tablets, which is not outdated. And we're going to go to chapter 3, tablet 3, verse 208. Okay, this is for all you NUWAUIPIANS who keep invoking Atum-Re, Malakayork, Panabab Yanun. Here's what it says in the tablets which he wrote, so I ain't listening to what y'all got to say. Chapter 3, tablet 3, verse 208. Do you want to be hereafter, or as they say in the hereafter, hereafter the rapture of the disagreeable? Religious people are tricked and taken from here, never to return. I'm going to leave it right there for a second so they can read that. So, if anybody says, well, why would you say something like that? Because only the religious people, they're deaf, dumb, and blind, so it won't make a difference if you tell them or you don't tell them. They're still deaf, dumb, and blind. It won't make a difference. So, with that, this is 5-day comment number 92. Rivka, give me a call. Get away from that black. That black will get you jacked up. Everybody knows that black is a code word for slave. Stop doing it. Get right, and everything will be all right and all white. Abud Gadur, Abud Gadur, Abud Gadur. White power, white power, white power.
What does that say? The United NUWAUIPIANS Worldwide International African Diaspora Forum to Banjul, Gambia. Look, can't say we not recognize. This is an international agreement signed by the Ministries of Justice. It's a stamp in ECOWAS, an ECOWAS nation that has acknowledged the United NUWAUIPIANS under our seal. I mean, it gets no plain clear. And actually, these are, let me just show you this so you know that we are in West Africa, just in case people don't know, right? Location, where's that location right there? The address of the foundation shall be installed number 10A, Laso Wharf Market, Banjul, Gambia. This is where we are. All right. So the identification and location, just because, you know, just in case you wanted to know how we tied in, what is all this work being done? How are we moving forward? That's the official stamp of the Ministries of Justice. This is acknowledgement of NUWAUIPIANS Worldwide. That's just another document. So we gave you 3. This is another certificate of occupancy of our embassy and consulate in Gambia, Senegal, ECOWAS nations, a butter knife. So that's us. So I'm not going to go into a whole lot because you know what people like to do. They like to take it and start, you know, thinking they can, thinking that, you know, I don't know what the devil's at work, but we're smarter than that. We're in a whole different bracket when it comes to the family to see exactly just a portion. That ain't even, that's not even, I'm laughing because when I pulled out the documents that I wanted to show, so you can see everything is stamped, signed, sealed, and delivered, right? I was laughing because while people are talking, we doing work. And as we doing work, the facts are piling up in our favor so incredibly that, guess what? There's nothing the 6 ether forces can do. You know, there's nothing you can do against us to try to hurt us or bring us down because we're already free. So we're not going back under your program. We're not signing no SF 181 form for federal employment. We creating economic institutions. That's what we did on Tamaray. We created employment. We created jobs. We're the creator of these things. We don't go to a person and say, can you do this for us? Can you access? Can you give us freedom? No, we take our freedom. We take our liberty. We take our survival. We're going to make sure that our president is home in Africa. So it's really, you know, I'm not going to get too long when I think I was on here about an hour or so. But I just wanted to touch bases with the family again because I told you I was going to do told you I was going to do a update, and you know, I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of what's going on. I didn't get the whole thing because the devil's going to try to, you know, they looking, they trying, damn, this guy, we got all of this information, so why isn't he home yet? Baba is coming home. Trust that. Everything is laid out to where you see it, you know, and his court case is coming up. And we're going to Liberia to get the word out. We're about to film, I'm headed to New York. We're about to film a DVD called The Mysteries Behind Closed Doors. Liberian case of Dr. Malachi York is going to be fully edited, available to the public by the second week of September. We're going to pass out 10,000 of them in Liberia to show the injustices of Dr. Malachi York. The billboards are going up. We're going over there, putting our feet on the ground. Make sure our nation, is made aware of everything and preparing. Y'all have to prepare for Africa because it's close. Bob is going to be repatriated. All that is being in place. All that is being done right now. You know, and so it's just a great thing, right? I mean, I'm just excited about everything that's taking place. But if you got any questions, just shoot some questions. I know I've been kind of running my mouth, but if there are any questions, we can address those. We can address those questions real quick. I'm not sure if anybody has any more concerns, but I just want to address the ID. Oh, yeah, I did want to address this. This guy, where is it? So I'm looking at this paper, right? I'm looking at this paper. Yeah, okay. He has an affidavit. I threw it. I tossed it. It was so much. Oh, I'm looking for this affidavit that he sent. Okay. All right. So this guy, right? This guy here. What's his name? I don't even know his name. Because he signed his name. First of all, he sends an affidavit with a false name. This is fraud. His name is not Nebu Sin Amun. That's not his name. He's contracted with the United States with his birth certificate. He hasn't shown and proved who he is. So first of all, factually, we really don't have to address this affidavit because it's fraudulent from the door. Okay, but I'm going to address it because, you know, that's what we do. And this lies. We are the ones to replace the fraud. We're the ones to replace the liars, the deceivers. So he gets this signed. 24 points of fact, and I'll address it. It's nothing. It's easy work. I can do this with my eyes closed. Right? He puts a few so-called quotes. I don't see any case law in here. He quotes, it says, a matter must be expressed to be resolved. In commerce, truth is sovereign and must be expressed in the form of an affidavit. An affidavit not rebutted stands as truth in commerce. An affidavit not rebutted after 30 days becomes judgment in commerce. Now, honestly, I could toss this out the window because, one, you know, it was presented, it was sent in fraud by the mere fact that the agent that represents this affidavit or this entity is misrepresenting himself because he's contracted under a foreign entity called the United States, and he's a citizen and chattel slave property of that entity. And so he's not even qualified to address a sovereign state such as the United NUWAUIPIAN Nation, nor the embassy, in order to receive a response. But because of our people have questioned it, and this is him. He sent. This is his fraudulent. He acquired a tribal ID, and claimed he did not sign this, but he signed the application, which gives the consent for the signature to be on here. That was done by a computer. It's a computerized signature based on the consent of the signature of the application, which everyone who received the ID, everyone who received their application for the tribal ID receives this automated signature as confirmation that it was signed on the application. So he sends this back as if he's saying something. So he procured this as a double agent, because if you're not a NUWAUIPIAN and you're contracted under the U.S., then you're playing double agent, and he can be he can be brought up on charges by the U.S. for fraud for obtaining a tribal ID, and he's not who he is.